Hey, what's going on? It's PernellBobby. I'm coming at you with a part 2 to Pisces leadership. And when I say Pisces leadership, this is primarily because there's 4 planets of Pisces in the sky. I'm over here. And this is about being able to be sensitive, gentle, sacrificing in an unconditional way, not in a bend over backward and let everybody do you dirt way. Okay, let's not forget that Floyd Mayweather is a Pisces. Okay, Pisces are savages. He's like one of the best boxers to ever live and probably ever will live. You know, this part 2, feel like I needed to have this happen when I really thought about it as a form of therapy. You know, the part 1 started, you should check it out. Video with me taking a walk this morning to get a coffee, and I was like, I wanted to cry, and I was like, oh fuck. And I made the mention about like my green dragon has been pulling up, and quite frankly, like I got a shit ton of dragons, but they usually never show themselves. Partially because dragons don't like showing themselves to humans, because we get a little bit too much in our head when we see that much power, along the fact that we obviously tried to tame and kill them back in the day, but that's a different story. All right, so the reality is like I've been confronted by my dragon and by Raphael, Archangel Raphael, who also has a green aura, helping with the heart chakra. Green dragon helping with the heart chakra, helping with forgiveness. And I've been really learning to give myself a little bit more peace, as this South Node is in Scorpio, and I am a Scorpio rising, right? I have this new Moon Eclipse coming in Taurus, and another one on the 16th coming in Scorpio for the full moon. And you know, it brings us back to November and February, March this year. And if I think about what's happened in that time frame, I was breaking up with a business partner who also was a romantic partner. Okay, these things had fused, and this is a part of my personal therapy to myself, by just speaking out loud and finding ways to use the story to hopefully help you with a certain sense of relief through this form of leadership. Okay, Pisces leadership, being able to be vulnerable, but realize that that does not mean anything separate from you are not strong. And you know, if I go back to November, you know, I was really bitter, if I'm being honest. I mean, if I think about the applicable thing behind it, the actual tangible thing, I was really building my first email list. Probably my second, my first one, which is like, blah, it was a dub. I basically quit on it. I wasn't ready. That was years ago. But the first time I took it serious, I was doing this with a partner of mine who was a romantic interest as well as a business partner. And I've been realizing, like, in what ways is it really coming fully to a close, especially when this eclipse coming in Scorpio. Okay, full moon eclipse in May 16th, 2022. All while the South Node is here, like all these private matters, all these things that have hurt all Scorpios, but in this instance, I talk about myself. I'm really sick of building people up. I have the ability as an Aries to start new things, and I'm in 5th house in the stellium, so I'm helping other people start into the new version of their identity. And you know, having an Aries moon and Aries sun is like this, creates this divine spark, which is one of the portals that angels come through. It's one of the portals that all things spirit come through. Okay, it's especially when you call on ancestors, you call on your guides, they come through this. And as a part of that, like, I'm a walking embodiment of that type of energy, and I have the ability to help people start, Aries, their new and most authentic identity, their new and the most authentic version. But I can't lie, like, there's a part of me that subconsciously, unconsciously have became very bitter, very unforgiving, you know, even with myself, and the things that I've allowed as a part of people being able to experiment in their new identity. You know, when they get started and sparked off into this new version of themselves, that has often come at a seemingly a cost, seemingly a loss. And that loss oftentimes is one, me not knowing when to stop giving, realizing that, like, okay, look, I'm here to start them off. I'm not here to carry them. I'm not here to hold hands. I'm not here to finish things for them. And you know, among this, like, I gotta be honest, like, it put a little icky on my heart. it really put a little icky stuff on my heart, and I don't even like to really fully admit that, quite frankly, but it is the simple truth. I took some of these pains to heart, but I just kept moving forward. And what that has not allowed is time to grieve and time to process. Moving forward can be a strength, but it also can be a weight. As in Aries, like, we naturally just gotta move forward. We're gonna be like, oh, not enough time to think about how much dirt was done, because we're just gonna go start the new thing. But when it comes down to it, it's like, you know, there's a lot of things as Scorpio rising now that has been observed, witnessed, and held on to as a sense of as an engine, as a motor that has been able to actually propel my work, propel my career, propel a lot of areas of my life forward. One of those areas that do suffer in this instance is romantic. Okay, it is love. Okay, human love, and the human spirit being able to intertwine and connect with another human spirit. And this has been one of the blocks for sure. A block in a sense where it's like, let's just not give attention to it, because why would I want to get that close to somebody? Why would I want to see that deeply into me? That deeply, Scorpio, into me. Intimacy, okay? Connection with another, connection with anything. Intimacy, an intimacy that I have with these headphones, the connection with it. But in this instance, with people, okay? And the more I allow myself to connect with people, the more I also see into me. And there are certain parts of me that is just savage, and I fucking love it. And there are other parts of me that are savage, and I'm like, ooh, and I'm judgmental of it. But instead of being able to take the time to judge myself on these instances, okay, in the way that a Virgo would, I spend time judging other people. And I spend time judging other people, not thinking that I was being judgmental, not thinking that I was being cynical, even in the observation of other people's motivations. And really part of the Scorpio release for me that's coming up, especially in this eclipse, as I try to go ahead and soften that blow with these moments of vulnerability now, through what I like to call in this instance sensitive leadership, or Piscean leadership, which has the ability to sacrifice the parts of our ego that really just don't serve. I'm a big fan of the ego. I mean, I'm a fucking Aries, for God's sake. Like, we're exalted in the sun. Like, I'm a big fan of the ego. It's very powerful. It can bring you through a lot of things, and at the same time, it can hold you. It can be a weight. You know, pride is one of the big things of fire signs, and I've had to really address where's pride not allowed me to grieve. And pride is a big one. Again, being proud of something is a fucking strength. It's a superpower. And it's really allowed me to achieve such great things that I haven't had the time to fully integrate. As for how grateful I really am, and I want to take one moment to say I'm tremendously grateful for each one of you watching, because this again is therapy for me. And this is a lot of where I had to come back to and remember that talking is one of my best forms of therapy. Being able to speak things out loud, and certain things just seem to be way too to be able to talk them out, and so they stay in. And sure, that has charged me some ways, but in other ways it has blocked me. It's blocked my blessings. It's blocked my guides. Okay, it allowed me to feel like I've been out here on these streets dolo. It allowed me to feel that like I'm only here to spark new people onto their new adventure, and then they get to go on, they get to leave. Everybody has to leave, everybody has to go, and then I get to get left in this spot where, what the fuck? Why do I always help everybody? Who the fuck gives a fuck about me? And I can't lie, like, this isn't a part of it. And I had to address certain things about how and in what ways have I felt inadequate. And so I would overextend my duty, my purpose, my drive, my energy, my compassion, my love, my everything. Whatever would make sense in the moment. And as a part of all of that, you know, I really got out of touch with loss, and the fact that, and I said this in part 1 of this video, so check out Pisces Leadership Pernell Bobby, and I'll put this up as part 2. Part 1 of this video was pretty much as simple as the fact that I have felt in any sense lost for a person, for a place, or for a thing. It also shows and proves to me how deeply I've loved. And I could only be hurt because I've loved so deeply, because I've given so, in a sense, honestly, carelessly, you know, careless in a very naive, baby-like way, okay, who would just not really think that people have ulterior motives. And so when they do come up, and when they did come up, this is when I would have preferred to take those moments to shove them over the rug and almost pretend that, you know, people can't be so ugly. But as I do my best to release judgment of myself and others, to release how people's punishments will be delivered, okay, and how it has nothing to do with me having to be the one to dish that punishment out, rather than me addressing in what ways have I become bitter, in what ways have I closed off my heart or limited how much I'm willing to give. Oh, as vomit tries to come out of my mouth. It's coming out, y'all. Scorpio South Node, it's here. Again, I'm a Scorpio rising. I really don't have no fucking choice this whole year. These eclipses are going to whoop my ass. And Pisces and all its 4 planets in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. The moon is currently still in Pisces. My ancestors have been coming through and like, hey, look, now's your chance, bro, to see what to release, to see how to move, to see in what ways you can forgive. And one of these ways are coming out here and having this moment of vulnerability, because I do tremendously feel that as a leader, and all other leaders that are listening to this, and that's a lot of you, it requires the new age of leaders to be more sensitive. It requires the new age of leaders to be more mindful that the tough guy act or the independent woman act is not what we still need. It is something that it is time to release and allow it to transform. At one point, we needed that. At one point, women needed to be that strong, independent woman. At one point, males needed to get more emotional. And when I say more emotional, I mean like being able to emote, being able to express emotion, and realize that it's a part of a strength, and not get stuck into these other critical words like simps and, you know, being a simpleton, or coming back to it all. I guess my biggest lesson that I would like to share is, again, that loss, and the bigger the losses, only signify that the greater I loved. And, you know, to each person out there, and I said this in part 1, I'll say it again, this isn't about anybody specific except for me. If you are listening out there and you did hurt me in some way, whether you betrayed my expectation and I punished you for that, I'm sorry. More likely than not, that punishment would have been silent. More likely than not, that punishment would have been, well, I'm going to go ahead and do bad all by myself. And I've done that. And at the end of that line, at the end of that station, there's loneliness. In all simplicity, there's loneliness. Not only is there loneliness, but there is a sense for me that I'm changing the story for, quite frankly, right now, even by doing this. But who is that? I don't know if y'all saw that on the screen, but whatever, I'm gonna leave it alone. There's a sense where I keep forgetting that I came to Earth for a reason, for a purpose, and that I made this conscious choice to leave my actual home, wherever it is that I'm from. Because I definitely blocked some of that off, and other parts of me knows very well where it is. And, you know, to remember that I came down here, up here, through here, whatever you want to call it. You know, I came through that spark to live as a human on Earth, to embrace intimacy, and to allow intimacy to be something where I see into me. Okay, it's the best way I've heard intimacy described. And as a part of seeing into me, I get to look at all my past lives, which this 28 degrees of Pisces is really activating. And Taurus season, I can see it. Okay, all the invisible, all the behind the scenes, all the subconscious patterns. Excuse me. And stop judging those subconscious patterns, and whoever was responsible for guiding me to those, whether it's a mom or a dad or an uncle or whatever it is, a teacher, whatever, whoever was part responsible. And to realize that I put these people in my life. I created contracts with my mother, with a teacher, with a best friend, with the one that betrayed me, with the one that broke my heart, to build it up, with all of these people, and to accept that each one of these are fabrics of my imagination. I've literally created these people. And part of sensitive leadership is to bring ourselves back to the understanding, because Pisces understands. It doesn't need to fight anymore. And in truth, like, I'm a fighter and I really love to fight, but part of the new brace of this identity that I'm stepping into as well myself, especially as Jupiter gets ready to go into Pisces, Jupiter gets ready to go into Aries, it's the expansion of myself. But right now I was in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, it's the expansion of my spiritual consciousness. And that spiritual consciousness has brought me back to the simple reality that each one of you that I have felt loss with, or by, or for, I created you as a figment of my imagination to expand my spiritual consciousness, so that I can now, as this next season comes, step into the expansion of this personal character, so that I can be a better leader, Aries. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I ever blamed you, whoever you are. I'm sorry that I sold an image to you that maybe I didn't intentionally look to do, but it happened anyways. I'm sorry, and I'm saying and apologizing to myself for the things that I've allowed, and for taking the lesson for granted, and for taking the memory of that experience for granted, and the amount of time that it took for me to get back to actually understanding, well, why would I, if I did create this figment of my imagination and these characters to hurt me or betray me or lie or cheat or fucking just be a fucking dick. Okay, I had to get a little bit out. I had to get a little bit out. Fucking dick. But why would I create that person? Again, same energy, different bodies, different people, different women, different men, different everything. And I created that, and I just want to, one, on camera to myself, say I'm sorry, and also that I'm fucking proud of you, bro. Like, you, Pernell Bobby, like, I'm so proud. Partially for all the experiences that you've taken with a tremendous amount of fire energy in my chart, to actually learn how to control that fire and use it for purification. And as a part of a reminder, this experience that I'm living in this human life, that like fire in the forms of purification is me focusing at whatever stages during these moments that I've experienced betrayal, which is of my own expectation, to remember why. Why did I set this up karmically? And one of the whys is to practice purification before I step into this new stage, this new level of where my identity and my character role has evolved to. Because if I was to go straight to the boss level without all the training, which was coming in the form of, through human language, betrayal, excuse me, all the training is so that I don't allow the power to get to my head, because I am still in the human body. I can't just go, I couldn't allow myself to just come back with all this power that I have access to, knowing what and how ugly the human world is sometimes, knowing and what that I came here to help relieve suffering on this plane, in this particular dimension, on this earth. And I can't do that by allowing myself to become those who are causing the suffering. I can't become the oppressor. And it's something that, as I listened to some music today, it brought me back you know, really through multiple past lives. And the stability of Pisces with music, it can bring you through your past lives. And I've been a warrior all my life, and in so many lifetimes I've been a fucking warrior. And there were times when you just off with somebody's head, and there are other times when something more unique needs to happen. But in this time, it's for me to lay my sword down and realize that I came here partially to detach. I had to really attach to the human world and really learn the ways, but to culturally not forget where I'm from. And I don't say where I'm from as in I was born in Texas, growed up in Connecticut. I mean where I'm from my alien ancestry, okay, my spiritual ancestry, the ancestry of my soul, okay, my genetic ancestry of my soul's DNA. And Pisces season has really helped me to come through an understanding that I'm not from here. I knew this from a little boy, but I needed to learn people, emotions, feelings, the waves of destruction and chaos, and be able to differentiate the feminine energy from masculine energy before I can bring it back to one. And you know, among all of this, there's a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. A lot of it that I've also shoved under the rug. But to also forgive myself for realizing that I'm not meant to just deal with all of that in one bout. You know, it doesn't have to be this form of sabotage where I buried myself in what was buried either. But that little by little, I can go ahead and address these things, these matters, people, circumstances, situations, in a feasible amount, at a feasible rate. And this is a part of the forgiveness for myself, that like I can sift through this stuff at a feasible rate, at a rate that respects the fact that I'm in a human body and that I'm not living in a spirit form. Okay, that the whole physical reality that we're in, it's yes, sure, you know, some parts of me have this memory and this like knowing of like, what can I do in my true form? But in reality, like, this is my human form. If I ever hurt you, I'm sorry. If I ever hurt you, I'm sorry. In many ways, I didn't know the ways in which I was hurt, or the ways in which I've carried pain from one person to the next. But I have a better understanding today, and I'm sure that understanding will progress again tomorrow. And so I would just do the best that I can to be a sensitive leader, to be a leader who's willing to sacrifice certain parts so that I can do what I'm here to do, which is to help bring peace, a transformation of all the suffering. And that requires me to not necessarily contribute to the war that's already been raging, that I've witnessed through so many lives already. And to remember that I chose this time when technology was available to spread the message that I could never do long ago. And to remember that this is an absolute blessing, that I can finally talk to all of you. That you actually have the ability to listen and hear, no matter what language you speak, no matter what culture you come from. And thank you for the process, allowing and granting access to the process for me to grieve, to hurt, to feel, to love, to forgive, to not forgive, to be bitter, to fucking say I hate you. But to realize that there's no separation nor duality, but they all exist. Thank you. I love you.